Welcome to my YouTube channel, Heartbreak Chronicles, a place where you will hear a large number of fascinating and intriguing chronicles about hearts that are completely broken by female betrayal. Let's not drag on for long. Let's get straight to the point. My wife cheated with the nanny, so I got even. The perfect life, or so I thought. Buckle up, because this one's a ride. I, 38M, have been married to Jessica, 36F, for 12 years. We have 2 kids, 6 and 4, and live what I thought was the classic American dream. Nice house in a good neighborhood, solid finances, dinner with the family every night. Nothing extravagant, just a stable middle-class life. I work in finance, putting in long hours to make sure my family has everything they need. Jessica stays home with the kids, though she's always talked about going back to work someday. A few months ago, we decided to hire a live-in nanny. Between my job and Jessica's growing exhaustion, it seemed like a smart choice. Enter Sophia, 27F, young, energetic, and honestly, too attractive for my comfort. She had great references, an easygoing personality, and the kids loved her immediately. Jessica swore up and down that she was the perfect fit, so I ignored that weird little gut feeling telling me something was off. First, everything was great. The house was cleaner, the kids were happier, and Jessica seemed less stressed. But then, little things started nagging at me. First, it was the late-night chats. Sophia was supposed to be off duty after 8 p.m., but I'd find Jessica and her still up, whispering in the kitchen, giggling like teenagers. They started drinking wine together after the kids went to bed. It seemed innocent at first, just girl talk, as Jessica put it, but then it became a nightly ritual. Then, Jessica started dressing differently. She put more effort into her appearance, even when she had nowhere to go. She started working out, wearing perfume to bed, and suddenly had a newfound confidence. I chalked it up to feeling better about herself, but in hindsight, that was my first real sign. The intimacy between us changed, too. At first, I blamed stress, but even when we did sleep together, it felt off, like her mind was somewhere else, or with someone else. But the real red flag? The nanny cam. We'd installed cameras in the kids' rooms when we first hired Sophia, just to make sure everything was okay while we adjusted. I rarely checked them, Jessica had more time for that, but one night I did, and I saw more than I ever wanted to. I sat there, frozen. I rewound the footage, hoping I had imagined it. But no, there it was. Jessica and Sophia, in our living room, doing things that no girl talk could explain away. My heart pounded in my chest. My wife, my Jessica, was cheating on me, right under my nose, in our home, with the woman we had hired to care for our children. I didn't know whether to scream or break down crying. My entire world had just shattered in the span of a few minutes. And the worst part? I had no idea what to do next. Should I confront her right away? Wait, collect more evidence? My hands were shaking as I closed the laptop, my mind racing. I wasn't just betrayed. I was humiliated, and I knew I couldn't let this slide. I barely slept that night. My mind was an endless loop of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. How could she do this? How long had it been going on? Was this just a fling? Or had my entire marriage been a lie? I stared at the ceiling, my fists clenched, trying to come up with a plan. By morning, I knew I couldn't keep quiet. I had to confront her. Jessica was in the kitchen, humming as she made breakfast like it was any other day. My stomach twisted. The sight of her acting normal, after what I had seen, made my blood boil. I sat down at the table, staring at her, waiting for the right moment. "Sophia still asleep?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay steady. Jessica barely glanced at me. "Yeah, she had a late night." "I bet she did." I took a deep breath. "So, anything you want to tell me?" She frowned. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone, opened the nanny cam footage, and slid it across the table. "This." Her face went pale. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone, her eyes scanning the screen. For a moment, she just sat there, mouth slightly open, watching herself and Sophia tangled together on our living room couch. Then the excuses started. "Tom, I didn't mean for it to happen, she stammered. I don't know. It wasn't planned. I let out a bitter laugh. Not planned? You've been sneaking around with her for weeks. The late-night wine, the whispering, the sudden change in how you dress. What, you think I'm an idiot? Tears welled in her eyes. I swear, I still love you. It was just a mistake. A mistake? I shook my head. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. Sleeping with our nanny in my own damn house isn't a mistake. It's betrayal. She broke down crying. I don't know what to say. I should have been angrier. I should have yelled, stormed out, done something dramatic. But instead I just felt numb. Because deep down, I knew that no matter what she said, it wouldn't change what had happened. Then Sophia walked in. She must have heard everything, because she stood there awkwardly in her oversized sleep shirt, eyes darting between us. I turned to her, and for a split second, I saw guilt flash across her face. But it was gone just as fast. I guess you know now, she said, her voice quiet. Jessica looked at her with desperation. Sophia, tell him it wasn't serious. But Sophia didn't say anything. She just stood there, shifting from foot to foot. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I exhaled sharply, rubbing my temples. You need to leave. Jessica's head snapped up. Tom, no. I wasn't talking to you. I locked eyes with Sophia. Get out of my house. She swallowed hard, nodding. I'll pack my things. And just like that, the woman who had turned my life upside down walked away, leaving me alone with my wife, the woman I no longer recognized. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. The next few days were unbearable. Jessica tried everything. Apologies, promises, even seduction, to get me to forgive her. But I couldn't look at her the same way. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. I started sleeping in the guest room. We barely spoke except about the kids. I wasn't ready to make any decisions, but I knew I couldn't live like this forever. Then one night I heard Jessica on the phone. She was whispering, laughing, with Sophia. Something inside me snapped. She wasn't even sorry. She had no intention of stopping. I realized then that my marriage was over. But if she thought she could get away with this without consequences, she had another thing coming. After hearing Jessica on the phone with Sophia, any hope of reconciliation vanished. She wasn't even ashamed. She wasn't remorseful. She was still involved, still whispering late at night, still laughing like nothing had happened. That's when I realized. She thought she had won. She thought I would roll over, accept this humiliation, and just move on like a clueless husband who didn't have the guts to fight back. She was wrong. I wasn't going to be the fool in this story. If she wanted to sneak around and lie, I would show her what deception really looked like. But I wouldn't just walk away. No, I would make sure she knew exactly what it felt like to be played. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to Sophia. I waited until Jessica was out running errands and sent a simple text. We need to talk. No, Jessica. Sophia hesitated at first, but curiosity got the better of her. We met at a nearby cafe, the tension thick between us. She looked nervous, maybe even a little guilty, but I could see something else in her eyes. Interest. She had been with Jessica. Sure, but had she ever really thought about me? So, what do you want? She asked, sipping her coffee, trying to act casual. I leaned in slightly. I know you and Jessica are still talking. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Don't lie. I cut in, keeping my voice even. I don't care anymore. I just want you to hear me out. Sophia glanced around, unsure. Okay, go on. I smirked. How would you like to make things a little more interesting? Her brows furrowed, but I saw the spark of intrigue. She didn't say no. That was all the confirmation I needed. I wasn't just going to expose Jessica. I was going to turn the tables so completely that she wouldn't know what hit her. I leaned back, giving her a moment to let the idea sink in. Think about it, Sophia. You and I both know she's playing games. She's got you wrapped around her finger, but she won't even commit. She's still holding on to me, Why do you think she hasn't left yet? Sophia's lips parted slightly, her hesitation clear. I could see the internal conflict flickering behind her eyes. She wanted to defend Jessica, but she couldn't deny the truth. Jessica had been leading her on just as much as she had been deceiving me. She told me she loves me, Sophia murmured, almost to herself. She said she wanted to figure things out first. I scoffed. Figure things out? Come on, Sophia. She's keeping you as a backup plan. If she really loved you, she would have left me already. Instead, she's having her cake and eating it too. Sophia swallowed, processing my words. I watched her struggle with the realization. She was young, passionate, but naive when it came to Jessica. That was her fatal flaw, believing Jessica's words over her actions. I don't know, she said hesitantly. What exactly are you suggesting? I leaned forward again, lowering my voice. I'm saying, let's make this a game of our own. If she wants to lie, let's see how she handles it when the script is flipped. Sophia blinked, confused. Are you saying? I smirked. Jessica thinks she's in control. Let's take that power away. Sophia hesitated. I could see the gears turning in her head, doubt creeping in alongside a spark of something else. Excitement. The idea of outplaying Jessica, of catching her at her own game, intrigued her more than she wanted to admit. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then finally, she exhaled and nodded. Okay, I'm in. That was all I needed to hear. I left the cafe feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. The first move had been made, and now it was time to set the trap. Jessica thought she had control, but she was about to learn a very painful lesson in deception. That night I played it cool, acted normal. Jessica still had no idea that I had met with Sophia. As I watched her move around the house, my mind raced with possibilities. Tomorrow the real game would begin. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I watched Jessica sleep, curled up on her side, completely unaware that her world was about to change. I had planned everything meticulously. If she wanted to keep secrets, I'd show her how it felt to be on the receiving end. But this wasn't just about payback. This was about taking back control. Sophia and I had a deal. We weren't just going to expose Jessica's lies, we were going to twist the knife. I waited until Jessica left for her morning yoga class before making my next move. I sent Sophia a message. It's time. A few hours later, Jessica came home. I was in the kitchen, casually sipping coffee as if nothing had changed. She gave me a small smile, maybe trying to test the waters, trying to see if I was still distant. I played along. I kissed her on the cheek, ran my hand down her arm. I let her think everything was normal. She looked relieved. I asked her how yoga was, nodded in all the right places, laughed when she made some joke about stretching. She had no idea what was coming. That night, I suggested we have a little date night at home. Let's have some wine, put the kids to bed early, watch a movie together, I said. Jessica's face lit up. I'd love that. She probably thought this meant I was finally getting over the whole affair situation. She had no idea I had invited Sophia over, too. At exactly 9 p.m., when the kids were asleep, the doorbell rang. Jessica furrowed her brows. Who is that? I shrugged. I invited someone to join us. She walked to the door, and when she opened it, there stood Sophia. Jessica's face drained of color. What is she doing here? Sophia smiled, stepping inside with an easy confidence. I thought we could all have a little talk. I leaned against the counter, swirling the wine in my glass. Yeah, babe, a little heart-to-heart. Jessica swallowed hard, glancing between us. She could feel the shift in energy. She knew she wasn't in control anymore. Sophia took a seat on the couch, crossing her legs, looking like she didn't have a care in the world. So, Jessica, she said, her voice smooth, how long were you planning to keep playing both of us? Jessica's lips parted slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, don't do that. I cut in, my tone sharper. We both know what you've been doing. Lying to me, lying to Sophia. You thought you could juggle us both. Keep us in the dark. Jessica's hands trembled. Tom, I didn't mean for this to happen. Sophia laughed. Didn't mean for it to happen? You strung me along, told me you loved me, told me you wanted to leave him. And yet, here we are. Jessica's gaze darted toward me, looking for some kind of salvation. Tom, please. I held up a hand. No more lies. I just want to know one thing. Did you ever actually plan to leave me? Or was this just your way of having fun? Seeing how far you could push things before you got caught. Jessica's breath hitched, her face crumpling. I don't know. And that was the truth. She never had a plan. She never thought she'd get caught. She just enjoyed the thrill of deception, of getting away with it. I set my glass down. Well, now you do know. Because I'm done. Jessica's eyes widened. Done? I nodded. I'm filing for divorce. Her entire body stiffened. Tom, wait. No, I said firmly. You don't get to beg now. You had your chance. She looked at Sophia, as if hoping for some sort of support, but Sophia just shook her head. You played yourself, Jessica. Jessica collapsed onto the couch, her breathing uneven. I didn't want this. I thought we could. You thought you could have everything. I interrupted. Well, now you have nothing. I stood up, grabbing my coat. I'll be staying at a hotel tonight. Don't bother calling me. Jessica's voice was barely above a whisper. Tom. I didn't turn back. As I walked out the door, I felt lighter than I had in months. Jessica had lost the game she thought she was winning. And me? I had finally taken my life back. The next morning, I woke up in a quiet hotel room. No sound of the kids running through the house. No Jessica pretending everything was fine. No tension weighing down every second. Just silence. And peace. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. I turned on my phone and saw a flood of missed calls and texts from Jessica. Tom, please come home. Let's talk. I made a mistake, I know. I'll do anything to fix this. Please don't do this to our family. I stared at the screen, unmoved. Jessica had already done this to our family. She had broken the trust, shattered the foundation of everything we had built. There was no going back. A few hours later, I met with my lawyer. It was time to get the process moving. I wasn't going to drag this out. The sooner I cut ties, the better. But as I left the lawyer's office, something unexpected happened. Sophia called. I hesitated before answering. Yeah, I just wanted to check on you, she said. Her voice was softer than usual. I know last night was intense. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Yeah, but it needed to happen. I get it, she said. Then, after a pause, so what now? I leaned against my car, staring out at the city skyline. Now I move on. She was quiet for a moment. You know, you don't have to do that alone. I turned my head slightly, unsure if I was hearing what I thought I was hearing. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Sophia chuckled. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like unfinished stories. I exhaled slowly, a smirk creeping onto my face. Jessica's going to lose her mind. She already did, Sophia murmured. But if we're going to do this, let's do it right. I had never expected this. But maybe, just maybe, revenge wasn't the only thing I had gained from this disaster. Maybe I had found something new, something better. I met Sophia that evening at a rooftop bar, overlooking the city. There was something electric in the air, something unspoken but understood between us. She looked different, not just beautiful but free. We talked for hours, about everything, about nothing, about the absolute chaos we had just gone through. And as I watched her laugh at one of my jokes, I realized something. I wasn't just moving on. I was enjoying myself. By the time we left, there was no question about what was going to happen next. She hesitated outside the bar, waiting, watching me for any sign of regret. There wasn't any. I reached for her, and when our lips met, it was like closing the door on the past and stepping into something completely new. Jessica would lose her mind when she found out. But honestly, I didn't care. The days that followed were nothing short of surreal. I had expected more anger from Jessica, more fights, more attempts at manipulation. But after a few initial pleading texts and calls, she went silent. That silence was unnerving. Sophia and I started seeing more of each other. What began as a game, a way to throw Jessica off balance, was starting to feel real. I wasn't sure what to make of that. Maybe it was the thrill of revenge. Maybe it was just the raw honesty between us. But for the first time in a long time, I felt wanted, without deception lurking in the shadows. One afternoon, a legal document arrived at my hotel. A manila envelope, thick with paperwork. Jessica had beaten me to it. She had filed for divorce first. I flipped through the papers, half in disbelief, half impressed. She wasn't going to beg anymore. She wasn't going to fight. She was walking away, and on her own terms. She had outplayed me at my own game. I met Sophia later that evening at her apartment, tossing the papers onto the table. She filed first. Sophia raised an eyebrow, pouring me a glass of whiskey. Didn't see that coming, did you? I shook my head, sipping my drink. Not at all. Thought she'd drag it out, try to guilt me into staying. Sophia smirked. Maybe she realized she lost control. Maybe she knew you were already gone. I exhaled, setting the glass down. Either way, it's over. Sophia sat next to me on the couch, pulling her legs up under her. So, now what? I turned to her, the weight of everything finally lifting. Now I start over. On my own terms. She studied me for a long moment. And where do I fit into that? I leaned in slightly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Where do you want to? She smiled, slow and knowing. Guess we'll find out. And just like that, the story I thought would end in heartbreak took a turn I never expected. Jessica thought she had me trapped, but I had broken free. And maybe, just maybe, I had one after all. A few weeks later, I was officially a free man. The divorce had been finalized faster than I anticipated. No dramatic courtroom battles, no back-and-forth arguments. Just signatures on paper, dissolving over a decade of marriage. Jessica moved out of the house, and surprisingly, she didn't try to fight for it. Maybe she wanted a clean slate, or maybe she knew I wouldn't budge. Either way, she was gone. And the house that once felt suffocating now felt like my own space again. Sophia and I took things slow. At first, it was just casual. Late-night drinks, dinners, long conversations where we unraveled the past and tried to make sense of everything. But something was different now. There was no pretense, no secrecy. Just two people figuring things out, one step at a time. Then, one evening, as we sat on the back porch, watching the sunset, she turned to me. Have you thought about what's next? I sipped my beer, considering the question. For us. For you, she corrected, tilting her head. Are you really done with the past? I let out a slow breath. Yeah, I am. She nodded, satisfied with my answer. Then she grinned. Good, because I think we make a hell of a team. I laughed. That's so? She leaned in, her voice teasing. You tell me. And in that moment I realized I had let go. I wasn't clinging to old wounds, wasn't replaying the betrayal over and over. Jessica was gone, but I wasn't bitter. I was free, and with Sophia beside me, I was ready for whatever came next. Thank you very much for listening to this story to the end. I hope you liked. We work for you, looking for and telling you the most effective stories about women's betrayal, shocking intrigue, interweaving the plot and unexpected reactions of angry men. Save us, put likes, write comments, and, of course, subscribe to the channel to not miss any story.